For some time now in Africa, China and Chinese state banks have been the biggest lenders to state funded infrastructure projects. To many people in Uganda and all through Africa, and moreover the developing world, this wasn't seen as very suspicious at the time, considering China had many infrastructure projects going on all through the world with their Belt and Road Initiative. But many who were well versed in Chinese loaning tactics were keeping a wary eye on the small African country. At the time, the terms and conditions of the loans were kept secret in classic Chinese fashion, and this raised many suspicions to people in the West who were very familiar with China's unrelenting pursuit towards world dominance. Most leaders in Africa, when they go into these high points of offices, they go in there thinking that they're going to be able to change stuff and actually help people around, much like in America when a president gets elected, he thinks he's going to change the entire fabric of the country, much like Barack Obama in 2008-9 when he promised much for a lot of the large black communities in America, but very little came to fruition. This same type of political dealings happen exactly the same way in Africa, except on a much grander scale of more violence, corruption, and all the other cliche words used to describe a struggling place and just overall a struggling region. And when you have to deal with counterinsurgency groups that, much like Museveni has had to deal with himself, and then the instability in South Sudan and North Sudan, and just the overall despair that the majority of the citizens in Africa are facing, I mean, it's a very high pressure situation for a world leader to end up being in. Obviously, going around and eating up other countries' airports and other countries' ports, which China has done in Southeast Asia and Africa as well, is not a good way to make your living, especially when these are developing nations. But in a way, I point my finger towards those who signed the deal with the Chinese lenders and the Chinese government. And I ask them, why would you sign such deals? And the answer to that question is that these people are profiting millions off the hard labor and backs of their own people and strapping their citizens financially and ultimately ruining the futures of young Ugandans, young Malaysians, young Ethiopians, and young Nigerians, Kenyans, just all those who felt like they've been wronged by the Chinese over the last few years, when in reality they should be rioting and pointing towards their own leaders and looking at them and asking, where is the money going? Where is the funding gone? How are the funds going to be allocated back into social services? How is our health going to be impacted by the decisions that are made by usually in Africa, all by one guy? And lastly, when you look towards the future and you see that a lot of these Western countries and even in Asia are starting to cap off to how much development that they can even achieve on their own home countries, because when you achieve such development and the cost of living goes up by so much, it becomes more and more expensive to create new businesses and make new products in your own country. And so what they do is they outsource the work to other countries, or basically move their companies to another country. And this is what you're going to see with what happens to Africa in the coming decades, because there's so much growth that is there for people to come in and just sweep it all up. And you're going to see the leaders in most of these African countries continue to bow down to China and many of the countries in the West, simply because most of the world financial market is on the United States dollar. And so you have to build capital through the dollar, because the Africans will never come together and create their own currency, the one that will make them self-sufficient, simply because they don't have the mental fortitude and they don't have the complete cohesion to see a greater plan within the future, because what they do is they freeze out many of the young generations that understand how all this stuff works. And it's just the never-ending cycle that has forever damned our African brothers and sisters to this unfaithful damnation by our own leaders and our own people. And so continue to follow me. I will be following all this. And thank you.